Okay, welcome into another episode of Ink and Lore. This is episode 8. So super pumped. We've been doing this for 2 months. Super cool. I don't know if I've kept up with any kind of resolution that long. So that's
Right.
fabulous. So I am one of your hosts. I'm Miranda. And then we also have Cassie.
Hello.
And we have Kate.
Hello.
And we have Erin.
Hello. You
And
guys always laugh at me when I say
we always laugh at each other. Like the
I
first
know.
for anyone listening too, like whenever you start like podcast, well, at least for me, like the first like couple of seconds of it, it's like I kind of have to get in the rhythm and like just pretend like I'm talking,
Yeah.
like to you all like on a I don't know, like a FaceTime video or something. And then
Yeah.
after that, I'm cool. I'm like,
Yeah.
fine, all right, this is fine. But the first initial, it's like,
It's like, what are words?
do I
Hi.
say? Can I
Hello.
talk? Do I speak English? Yeah. So I think that's great. Okay, so this episode, we kind of labored over what we are going to talk about, but I think we've got it figured out. So we are going to talk about kind of two concepts, but we're going to put it under the umbrella of systems within the worlds that we have created. So as you know, or you may not know, but now you're going to know that fantasy worlds and the systems that go behind building out a lot of this stuff, aka world building, it can be really complex in the best of ways. I think the more complex a world system is, I live for the complexity. If there's a glossary, I'm just like chef's kiss. But we all have developed in our own way our worlds and our cultures. And one of the two things we kind of want to talk about is kind of systems as far as like hierarchy and like, whether it's some sort of like court system, whether it is just culture in general. So we're going to kind of talk about that and kind of the hierarchy of things. And then we're also going to talk about our magic systems and kind of where that inspiration came from, how it kind of works. And actually, something that we have all picked up on as we've written these is it's not as easy as it sounds to come up with a magic system because you have to make sure there's certain boxes are checked off and that it makes sense in the reader's mind and in your mind. So that's what we're going to chat about. And Kate, why don't we go first with you? Because Kate and I are both in the publishing phase of things. So we have kind of solidified, hopefully solidified
It's a little
our systems. So yeah, let's chat. Let's chat about systems, Kate. Tell us
Okay.
all about it. First,
Which
tell us
first?
the name of your book.
Born of Shadow and Flame.
So exciting. And
Which
then let's talk about your hierarchy of things or your systems. Yeah.
Okay. So my world is called Andor, and that is the name of the world. And it is split into 6 elemental realms. So I have a realm of like fire, shadow, light, earth, air, and like ice, water. So my one perspective is told from the continent of fire, which is called Eros. And then my other perspective is told from Mordas, which is like the Shadowlands. So that's like the the element shadow there. So in Eros, all my continents have different hierarchies. So they have evolved from, 1,000 years ago when everything was made, which I will go into when I talk about the magic part. But everything was made, and then, like, as the years trickled by, each continent kind of developed their own, like, basically political system. So Eros is I have, like, little, like, short names for each continent. So Eros is the city of the eternal flame. I really like that stuff that I
Mhm.
did. So it's the city of the eternal flame, and its hierarchy is basically there is one person called the premier, basically like a king type leadership, but he or she has an advising council, but the premier ultimately makes decisions for the continent. So they have a say, they give advice and they vote on things, but he or she ultimately makes decisions for that country. And basically in Eros there are, I want to call them cities, even though it's like the entire continent is the city of the eternal flame. But I have 2 big cities that are basically the dividing factor in Eros. So there's High City, which is basically a place of like wealth and
Mhm.
prosperity and like really beautiful, lush, thriving. And those citizens are called highborn because they're basically like the wealthiest, most powerful citizens of the continent. And then in Rune City, it's the lowborn. So it's like really poor, like working class, blue collar people. There's like a lot of factories, a lot of like underground stuff going on. There's gangs, things like that. Like, I don't know if you saw Arcane.
I
Mhm.
was just gonna ask you, I'm actually watching that right now with my husband, and I'm
Yeah,
like, "Oh, this sounds so familiar."
it's basically like
I love that.
I think they call it topside uh, in that or
Yeah,
something
I
like
can't
that.
well, they call the underworld for the
Underworld.
lower part.
Mhm.
There's a name for it, I can't remember.
I think
It
it's
actually reminds
topside.
me a lot of, Red Rising
Oh,
because
really?
There
yeah,
that's like that too?
like a hierarchy tier system and, like, the
Mm.
golds are the top tier, and then the
Okay.
red, like, the bottom tier
Yeah.
red. So, yeah, that and reds are, like, the miners and low life, basically,
Mhm.
Mm.
or very poor.
Yeah, so they're separated by class, and there is obviously, like, magical situations that go on in this continent, but it doesn't really matter. Like, I wanted the big like, deciding factor between the people to be based on, like, wealth and
Class.
money, because I
Yeah.
kinda just wanted to outline how that is in real life, like, how
Mhm.
that a very separate thing. So that's Eros, and there's, like, a lot of fun little places in Eros that I won't go into because 'cause they're, like, super fun to find out in the book. But my other perspective is in Mortis, the Shadowlands, and that area is, like, there is a king, and then he also has, like, a sort of advising council, but it's called a Curia Regis. That is the Latin
Ooh,
phrase for advising council. I don't know if anybody didn't know that.
love
It's
that.
his Yeah, Curia Regis is the name of his basically, like, war general, resource gen like, all the people, like, on your court that would tell you things, but this guy is the king, and it's been, like, one family for a really long time, and it's, like, king, queen, princess, like, that kind of hierarchical system, and they all live in a big castle called the Black Keep, which is where Aklis lives. And then, the town, like, the village surrounding is called the Lowlands.
I love that.
I love it.
That's my government.
I love it. When I read, like, the first few chapters of your book, that was, like, the thing that stood out to me was your development of that, and
Aw,
it just was, like, so well developed that it stood out. I
thanks.
was like, "Oh,
Yeah.
this isn't just, like, a fantasy book where it's, a new continent that doesn't exist. It's, like, a whole system, and, like, you
Yeah,
had thought of everything, and it was very clear to understand too, which was nice."
yeah. That's really
Yeah.
cool. I like it. It
Thanks.
also reminds me of, like, Mistborn. I don't know if you guys have
I
dove
haven't
into
yet.
Brandon Sanderson yet, but yeah, his so that book, it starts out, um, like chaos and stuff, but
Mhm.
they go into this, like, slummy kinda part of the, I don't know, realm,
Mhm.
and the female main person kind of comes from the ashes from there. So it
Yeah.
reminded me a lot of of you and like your book and even like I won't spoil anything, but like the uncle like at the beginning and like all that stuff, it reflects a little bit of Mistborn too, which is I thought it was really good. I love all that. All the little tiny details
Mhm.
like the currency and
Yeah.
all
Oh,
that.
yes. Wait, my currency? Okay. My
Yeah.
currency is called okay, so gold oh, wait, I have to find it. I have it in a
Do you
Google
have
Doc.
does everyone have, like, a I have a working Google Doc that's just, like, all the random crap
Yes.
in my
Yeah.
book. It's like, I'll
Literally
come up with something
everything.
else, and I'll be like, "Ooh," and I'll put it in that I'll put it, like, as a bullet point. I literally have a section at the bottom that's, like, random stuff, and,
Yeah.
like, all these things.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, so in my it's like international money.
Mhm.
So my gold is called Kajin, and if it's multiple gold coins, it's Kajai. A silver coin is a Talic, and a copper is a Ven.
Love it.
Very cool.
That's what I came up with as my money. I was like, I need to I kept saying, like, her gold coin and, like, her, like,
And you're
you know,
like, "I
trying to
need
make
some
it
It needs
cooler.
a word. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
needed to be like I need to make something up. I was like, what sounds
I
Mine is
like it.
I haven't, like, divided it down in that detail, but mine's called Solace. So my
Yeah.
I love it. It's, like, perfect for your
For
I'm
your
on,
setting.
like, chapter 20 in your book right now. Like, every single word that you use I know you'll, like, talk about it when you go through your, like, system, but it just feels so, just so magical,
Yeah.
like,
very immersive.
starlight. starborn, shattering. It's just
Yeah.
it's just like,
Yes.
I feel like
Magical.
I'm like glittering with starlight as I'm
Oh my
reading
goodness,
I
this.
I
love
love
it.
it. I
So
love
good.
it. I wanted it to be like very celestial, like
Yeah,
all
Yeah,
about the stars, like that
it
just
is. And it's
so good.
everything and yeah,
intertwined in everything.
Love it.
in everything. Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
So now your magic system,
Okay.
as far as that goes, like how does that work? Because as everyone, well, if you haven't read fantasy, you won't know. But when you do read fantasy, you will figure out that most of the time, if someone has developed, I'm going to put a preface. If an author has developed a magic system appropriately and very well, there's always a consequence
Correct.
for magic of some sort. It doesn't have to be earth shattering, but
Right.
it can't be like just completely, bottomless,
Yeah,
magic all
available.
the time
Yeah.
available. Like there has to be some sort of cost. It was something I learned
Mhm.
I watch a lot of Brandon Sanderson's YouTube videos because they're free. He did lectures at I can't remember
Yes.
the university where he's at, but I listen to those a lot. And one of the things that he talks about is like your magic system and
Mhm.
like price that the person has to pay to use that
Yeah.
magic, or whatever. So how's that work in your realm and the price that they have to pay if it's not spoiling anything?
So I won't be able to give away everything about that because that is actually like a very large part of this.
Large spoiler alert.
However, my my story is very much based on things that happened in the past, which yours kind of is
Mhm.
too, Miranda. So
Yeah.
basically, like when my world was created, and this doesn't give anything away because you basically find this out like in the first couple chapters of the book, but my world was created by like one like godlike entity called the
Mhm.
Clave. Um and it basically made like every element was like swirling around in this entity like an immortal being, and the clave like cleaved them from itself and like made mortal individuals of each element. So like all of my continents have names, and they're the names of the mortal that was made like 1,000 years ago. So like the fire element was made mortal and his name was Eros Fireborn, for example. So like each being was made mortal by like the godlike entity of the clave. So they all like maintained their ability. So each one could control fire and shadow and light, and it's all like very elemental magic situation. But something very bad happened all like 1,000 years ago, and one of the elemental guardians basically tampered in something that she was not supposed to tamper in and had cataclysmic consequences. And you'll find out more as you read the book, but one of the guardians had to make a very large sacrifice in order to basically reverse all the damage that she did. So when that occurred, the clave was like, you guys screwed up, you destroyed this beautiful world that I gave you. So I am taking all of I am like stripping you. I call it the great sundering. I'm like stripping you of all your power, basically. So all the power maybe wasn't exactly stripped away, but basically like nobody was super powerful anymore. So it took that all away. And then like trickles of power, like kind of like rain down in the ancestry lines. And in Eros, anybody with any type of ability is called an echo because they have an echo of power from the beginning. So each continent basically treats the beings with power in a different way.
Mhm.
Like in Eros, if you are an echo, you're basically like dead meat.
Yeah.
And like you are like executed for having the power. But in another continent, you could be totally safe. So it just depends on where you are living, basically. And I can't talk about the other parts because
I know.
they're
And
pretty,
that's
like,
all I can share.
I mean, I've already shared a lot.
I've already shared
I don't even
enough.
know how
Go
many
read
people,
my book.
I don't know how many people listen to this, but I really don't want to give away
Hey, we
stuff.
have
I'm
a
getting
whole
hot.
20 subscribers, okay?
So yes, that's
Oh.
my magic system. And of course, like, yes, with each power, you're labeled like what you are. So if you can wield a little bit of fire, you are fireborn. Terraborn is like earth. Froborn is wind. Lightborn, shadowborn, that kind of thing.
Gotcha.
So, and each one has a consequence specifically. Like an example would be like Atlas has like the shadow power.
Mm.
Hers is very special, and I don't want to go into it because I really like it and I want it to be a surprise. However, if she like hers is a very like kind of representation of like depression and like negative thoughts. So if you succumb to that, you're like succumbing to like an endless night of shadow and darkness and depression and sadness. So she's going through a lot.
Should be besties with
Or-
Estrella. That's for sure.
I know they need to like be besties.
I swear there is happy parts in my book. It does exist, but
It does exist. You just gotta hold on. It might be
it's
one
not,
page,
no.
but it's there.
It's not everywhere, but it is there.
It is there. Oh my gosh. Okay, so each magic system, each little realm has like its own kind of consequence, based on. Okay, so we'll have to read
You
the book
can be
for it.
anywhere. You can like live anywhere in Andor. Like you can be an Arrowborn and live in
And live somewhere
Arrow.
else. So depending on your specific ability determines like the
The consequence.
consequence of using it. Okay. I
Right.
gotcha. Okay. Okay. Cool. I love it.
I made it very complicated.
You did, but it's so
But it's
good. It
so
adds so
good.
much to the story.
Well, and that's the thing too, is it like helps to set you apart from like, there's lots of fantasy books out there. So I
Yep,
feel like
I was
whenever
just gonna
you
say that.
bring in little aspects that you think maybe are a lot, but to us, the reader, we think it's fabulous.
Yeah, and just like when I was reading the beginning of it, I was like, I haven't read any, and granted, I haven't read a ton. Like my TBR is long, but it's like nothing like I've read.
Yeah.
It's
So yeah.
very unique.
Yeah,
Okay.
it is unique. It is really unique.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of fantasy books that deal with like elemental powers, all that kind of stuff. But the way that you like describe it and you like bring it all together. And I love how each little, which now my brain is like turning about like all the other realms.
Yeah.
There's some stories there in all these other realms.
I could talk for like days on what's happening everywhere else
That's
during
so fun.
this book. Like I just want to say it, but I can't.
But I can't. I know. It's like I want to, and like I'll word vomit all of it to my husband.
Yeah.
And he doesn't read fantasy, so he can't appreciate it the way that I appreciate it. Cause I'm like, he thinks it's cool. He's like, your brain made all of that. How'd your brain make all that? But
I mean,
he's like, and I'm like, but I can't yap with him about it. Like I can't, he's just like, that's just so cool. I'm like, I need more. I need you to have a conversation with me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
It's so fun.
So
this stuff.
I think that your system is like, I love all of the uniqueness of it. I also like that each of this different places have like their own government, essentially.
Yeah.
I think that's really cool as well. Yeah.
Wanted it to be like pretty similar to our world in that not everybody has a president. Some people have a king. Some people have a tribe leader. Like I wanted each.
Yeah.
I think I read somewhere, or like when I was doing research for this whole world building journey that I've been on, that the more you make kind of like a cultural difference in each realm, like the more believable it is. Like up a holiday in my world, like like just to like make it like more real. And like it's like the holiday is Founders Day, and it's the day that the world was made, and each realm celebrates it in a different way, like kind of like Christmas in different religions. But like that stuff just makes such a difference, and I can tell while I'm reading it, I'm like, oh, okay, Founders Day. Like now I'm like, I want to go to Founders Day. Like I want to party. So it's just been a fun thing.
Yeah.
It's a great creative outlet.
Yeah,
Like
totally.
you can just really go as far down that rabbit hole as you want.
Right.
Yeah, you really can.
So, Cassie, do you want to go next? Do you want to talk about because your whole system of hierarchy, I want to know about because it's Bridgerton meets Norse. So I am sat. So tell me all about your hierarchy.
Okay, so it's book one is mainly going to be like set in one place, which it's not going to be you're gonna see other places, but the main place, it's in a castle in Haldrick, which is the capital city of the realm of Elderheim, which is like a whole continent, and it is ruled by a queen, Queen Freydis, and so that is very like typical, like queen. You got your noblemen, you got, there's a sword of the realm, there's, the treasurer, that kind of thing. So it's very basic there. And that's where Lex is, which is my main character, and she is the stepdaughter to Queen Freydis. But her dad and her real mom were from Verinia, which is a completely different, it's another realm that is it's still developing, so give me some grace here.
Maybe
We're
change your mind.
we're still working on things, but she is from there, and there they are Fae. So it is like a human realm and then a Fae realm, and the Fae have powers, but the nobility and the Fae have higher powers. So, and I'm still trying to work out a lot of the things, but I know like it's going to be a lot of elemental things. So Lex has storm and flame, like cold flame. And so she's going to kind of have a little bit of a mixture, and then we kind of will learn about other types of those kinds of magic powers, but probably not until a little bit later in the story, because right now we are like in my first book, it is really developing Lex and her connections and everything. And then she's going to see a little bit of Verania and kind of go from there. But it's a work in progress. It's not as intense or anything as what you guys have already. But I'm excited about it, and the more I, like, just wrote 2 chapters today, and I was, like, on fire, and I'm, like, loving
Yeah.
it. I'm so excited. But it makes me, like, excited to do book 2, because I know it's gonna be more magical and intense and everything, because, things are going to change. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
I
I don't
love
know.
that, like, you
I love
get,
it.
like, at least for me, I get in these, like, moods where I'll have a day where I'm just like, "Oh, yeah, today's the day." And I just
Mhm.
start writing, and then I'll go, like, I don't even know. I'll go, like, a couple days, and I'll be like, "Nah, I'm not
Yeah.
touching that." Or, I mean, it just comes in spurts, and
It does.
I think extra, whatever's going on in our lives, you know,
Right.
kids, jobs, all those kind of things kind of influence that.
Yeah.
But I love, like, whenever you can crank out and you're like, and then also I think it's cool whenever you're in the middle of writing something and you're like, man, book 2 is going to be so cool because I'm going to put this, this, and this in there. And they're going to get to do this. I think that's so neat that your brain and like you're already looking forward to how to incorporate things and move things forward and
I
all that.
already I'm, like, ready to write book 2 at this point. I'm like,
Yeah.
just need to get this one done so I can get to that one, because I mean, I love this one, and I think that it's gonna be so much fun, but I am, like, so ready for book 2, because
Yeah.
it's gonna just be so much more magical.
Yeah.
First book is always like the foundation, and it's
Mhm.
always good, but I feel like once you like get to the next one, it's like you don't have to explain any of that anymore. Like,
Yes.
Yeah.
knows your world already. Everybody knows this. Now you can like it's like more
Yes.
fun almost. So
Yeah.
I
More
totally
fun
get it.
and more action.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like building off of all those things that you've already planted. And like that was one of my big things that I struggled with and that my editor and I like that was like one thing that I feel like I'm really, really great. Well, she did really good with all of it. But one of the things I'm really thankful for is that she pointed out things that was like, this doesn't really make sense. Like
Mhm.
how do I know that this is happening? Like, this is happening, but I
Mhm.
don't know that this is happening. Like you have to describe like how did we get here? What
Mhm.
what how
Right.
does the magic work in this instance or whatever?
Right.
And that stuff you don't have to do again because it's
Mhm.
all in there. So like when I took off on book 2, I was just like guns blazing. I was like, yes, we don't have to explain any of this.
The
Like
best.
bring it out. So I feel that to my core.
Yeah.
I
Great.
love it. I love it. So still developing kind of the magic and like the consequences and all that kind of stuff, which is understandable. But I still am living for the
Oh my god.
Bridgerton meets
Me
Norse.
too. I
Right.
can't
Well,
wait.
like a perfect, like it needs to be a TV show. You know what I
Yes. Oh
mean?
God. Can you
Like,
imagine?
Oh, yeah. Let's be real.
manifesting. I am all
Yep.
about manifestation. We are manifesting that we are going to have a Bridgerton meets North
Movie deals.
TV show. Yeah, absolutely.
I do
Love it.
have, I'll tell you like one little section that I love. So it's whenever we meet Finn, he is one of my characters. He's from Verinia, and he's Fae. And so he comes in and he's like, my Fae people, there's going to be different sections. Kind of how you talked about, Kate, how like you have to have different cultures and everything. So I'm planning on having different cultures in Verinia that kind of look certain, you know what I mean? Look certain ways, like have different cultures, that kind of thing. But Finn is like the Viking culture. And so he walks in, and I have like a running joke in my book that they call like all of the other men, like the nobility men and everything, peacocks, because they go peacocking around. And so as Finn comes in, like she thinks in her head a Viking among peacocks. And I was like, I love
Oh,
it.
that's cute. I
I
love
love
that.
that.
I like that.
That's
really
awesome. I can't wait to read that line.
Good.
I love it. I love it. It's so exciting. It's so cool. And I feel like I'm in like a really exclusive club because I get to read like all of y'all's book. Like when
It's
Erin
so
dropped in
fun.
her last chapters, I was like, I'm reading that tonight. My Kindle holder, because it'll hold like your phone. So I'll put it on my Google Docs or
Yeah.
whatever, and I'll be like, and my husband's just like looking at me like I've got 5 heads, and I'm like, I don't think you understand. I'm reading a New York Times bestseller before it comes out. So
But that's how
I
I
know.
felt yesterday. We were at a tractor show and we were watching tractor pull. And I'm just sitting there on my phone reading Miranda's book. And I'm like,
Yeah.
this is nothing.
Yeah. Who cares about these damn tractors?
I am Starlight. I will not fall.
Yeah.
like I have T-shirts, you guys. I have T-shirts with that saying
I
on it.
need one. I'm gonna
And
get one.
they're like sweatshirt. I took a lot of time developing this one shirt, but it says it right here, like you're Starlight. And then on the sleeve, you can't tell it in the picture. There's a little star and it's embroidered. So it's embroidered and then it's embroidered here on the sleeve,
it.
tiny little star. Yeah, girl. I'll be ordering some of those for all of us.
I'm gonna wear it next podcast.
I'm all about some
Yeah.
merch. Like I live in this stuff. Like I live in it. I'm like, yes, represent.
I usually do, but today is my first day that I'm not wearing. I'm wearing a
Today's your
chicken.
first day wearing real clothes. That's what
A
I call
chicken.
it. Real clothes. I like your chicken shirt. I like it. I love
I
it.
don't know if I've talked about, I have a farm on here before. So I'm like, I got to represent a
You
little.
do have a farm because your handle was Cassie the farmer, the
Right.
RN farmer. RN was
I was
RN in
the
there?
farmer NP, but now it's the farmer author because,
Farmer
we're
author.
manifesting here.
Love
I
that.
love it.
Love it. Oh my gosh. So you can really you could pull in aspects not only of being like an NP, but you could also pull in aspects of like, the like exchange of goods and
Yeah.
livestock and all that kind of stuff and make it really realistic.
Yeah. And I'll probably, so I kind of actually start, like whenever I first started writing this, I kind of went down that rabbit hole and I was like, no, this is just, it's not what I want this book to be. And so that's when I completely scrapped that one.
Yeah.
And I restarted with the one that I'm doing now. And so I'm like, I think I'll probably bring more of that in the
Yeah.
next one. But
Yeah.
it's kind of
Yeah.
hard when they're all in a castle right now. So
Take little thing.
I don't understand life on my farm. So
So Erin, I'll go next. So that way you have plenty of time.
Okay. That's
to,
fine.
like, is that okay? Is that cool?
Yeah, that's fine.
And whenever we were starting it, she's like, I don't know about this. And so we're going to let her go last so she can get her
Brainstorm.
hierarchy figured out in her brain. Because she,
Just write it right now.
just right now, just the rest of it, plan it all out. We
Feeling
expect for it to be done by the time we get to you. No. So, what was the question? Right. So, Beneath the Silent Stars is my book, and it's coming out October 28th. Really? Like, gosh, like I've
The
labored
countdown
for
is on.
20 years over this book. But yeah, I'm super pumped, super excited. So I knew from the get-go I wanted everything to be connected to the stars. I don't know what drew me to that, to be really honest. I think honestly this is going to sound really cheesy, but it's the idea of there being light in a dark void and kind of the whole concept behind my book. So, and my whole series is there's a light in the dark void and you just have to look for it. So that is, so that's like my hierarchy systems in here. The easy hierarchy, I guess, is the land itself and like the people and kind of how they lay out in the land. So it is a monarchy. There's a ruthless king who is pretty vile and he rules over everything. It's a dystopian world, so everything's kind of burnt to ash and they're all just hanging on by a thread, but they do have little pockets of places that are like there's a realm that's called Tenebris, which Kate and I both have in our books, which I think is so funny. And it's a land, part of the land that is what I call provinces. So there's provinces throughout the land, but it's all in a stradion and ruled by the king. But within those provinces, there's like, and they all are ruled kind of differently. So there's one province of Virelia, which is where Volpes, Volps. It's where Volps is. It's I say Volpes, but you know what? I'll say it right.
That will never not gold for me. I'm sorry.
It is. There's a lord and a lady that kind of rules and like governs over that land. But then over in Tenebris, that's kind of like a free for all. It's actually more of like black market,
Like anarchy, kind of.
slums, just not a great place to be. But there is like a little pocket of like a higher class area. I don't really have like different classes per se. It's just kind of how almost kind of like if you're kind of born into a certain area, you're kind of stuck there, which I think is pretty symbolic of what happens in real life a lot of the time. There's another area of my place that we don't get into in the first book, but we will, called the Hollow City. And that is where a lot of trade happens. It's like a port city. So we'll get into that and how that's ruled over there at some point in time. There might be pirates, but I don't know.
Ooh.
But there might be pirates. And then there's another section that mimics like what Cassie was talking about called the Skyforge Peaks. And that's more of like, I did mimic it after or took inspiration from like Norse, like Viking. So the people who live there are very like gritty, like it's snow-capped mountains, like they're in survival mode. I actually took a lot of it from I don't know if what channel this was on, but it's a TV show Vikings. Like I don't know if y'all watch that show or
I
not,
think it's
but
like AMC or something.
it's like AMC or History Channel or some
Yeah.
weird random. It was
History-
good. I liked it.
Ragnar was
Yeah. Yeah.
great character.
Great character. Recommend. So I took a lot of like their like even how they look and how they dress and like all of that stuff I took from there. So that's the Skyforge Peak people. They have their own language, which I actually took from like it's kind of a mixture of like Swedish and Latin. Kind of took a little bit of all that together. And over there, we'll find out in other books kind of how they're ruled as well. But essentially, it's kind of like a monarchy there as well. But there's going to be like a kind of like what Kate was describing. There's like a, what do I want to say?
Like a
Like
council.
almost like a council of people who help the monarchy.
Mhm.
So that's kind of the levels of people. You kind of get an understanding of this in book one. Read the chapter headers because this kind of gives you some insight into some of this. But
I love those, by the
I love
way.
those.
They're so cool.
yeah, they were so fun to write. It was
Yeah.
like pulling back like history and like also like there's poetry in it. And it was like, yeah, I was like, this is too fun. I loved doing those little I think it's cool because it's like instead of doing a really deep prologue or like having a ton of background, you pull in little tidbits of information there.
I do that
But
in
in
my
those, you kind of figure out that this is not revealing anything, but the Starborn, this is part of the magic system, who are selected by the stars and given certain abilities, which are tied to element as well as like things to do with the mind and like, other things like strength, things like that. So different strength, speed, mind control, foresight into the future, like all these different kind of powers. But there's all these different collections of stars called the constellations are like the deities. And there are certain number of them. I can't give away a lot of this either because there's a lot with the plot in the next couple books. But there's a certain number of them. And then there's a couple that go away for a reason. So the star, I'm like trying to do this without spoilers. It's really hard. I'm like, how do I not? Okay, so the stars give certain people an ability in the realm when they display an act that is deserving of that ability. So it is not that they're necessarily like, even though it says starborn, it's not necessarily that they're born with it. It does tend to fall in generational lines, but it's like
You have to deserve it.
you have to deserve it, and they give it to you, right? So that's that. And then you can exhaust yourself to a point using that ability to what's called burnout. And that's where you die. I mean, if you can't rein it in, and you have a tether, which is inside your mind, basically. And it's where you anchor yourself to something really strong in your mind, whether that's usually it's a memory, and you anchor it to a memory, and that's how you prevent burnout. And I try to describe it in the book as like a physical cord that they put
Mhm.
on, and they hold themselves like connected to the earth, to the realm, and other things.
Like, like in Harry Potter when you're conjuring your Patronus and you have to think of your happy memory.
Yeah, you think of like your happy thought. It's like a memory. It's like something that you have stored away that's always there that you can hold fast to and keep you grounded so that you don't flare out and burn out. So
Mhm.
I love
that's
it.
the cost, I guess. But the Starborn are blamed for something that caused the realm to be a dystopian realm. So they are pretty much in hiding. And then they get hunted down, which you find out why in book 2.
You're doing
Like
a
some
really
Find
good
out
job
why they get
You're
hunted
doing
down.
a good
without giving anything away.
Trying so hard. And it's hard. That's
Hard.
really
I know.
difficult to like
I'm about
explain
to
the whole
struggle.
magic system and like all of
Yeah.
it whenever you don't want to. And there's even like concepts that you're not going to understand until you get into more and more of the book. So even in book
Yeah.
2, there's going to be some things that are not quite 100% clear.
And it's like hard to
But I
market.
think that's
What are you gonna like? What am I gonna say that's not going to completely ruin it, but you're still gonna have like,
Yeah. I'm
what
like, because there's, there's aspects that, yeah.
Right.
So
but I think
got
that's
a
such
whole
a strong like a strong way to build a system is that like you don't know
you don't
everything
want to
in
like
book
dump.
one. Like,
Mhm.
no, you want to kind of piece it together and have the reader like excited to be like, wait, what does that mean? Or like maybe even if you drop like a subtle hint, even in the back of their mind, if they save that piece for later and then it comes full circle, like that's so fun. Like that's
I think
what we
that's
love to read.
Well, and
Yeah.
I think it's cool that you like introduce something and then, like you said, like an event or something, but
Mhm.
mine is the shattering,
Yeah.
right? You don't quite understand 100% what that is. You won't until, but I
Mhm.
give like little tidbits of information of like what is that, how we got here, what started it. And it's not necessarily what you think. And it's like all this stuff. So you won't know.
Love it.
It's so fun.
It is so fun.
I love that part, like
Yep.
foreshadowing
Mhm.
and like the little tidbits of information. Erin, you were bringing up like Easter eggs and stuff last time
I
of
love the Easter eggs.
planting them now that you look back and you're like, that's what that's
Mhm.
for. Yeah. So
I think about the people because I'm going to go full manifestation on this that people are going to love it and they're going to reread it. I think about the rereaders when I write.
you pick it up
Think
later.
I
Yes.
think about what can I put here that when they reread it, they're going to be like, "Oh my god, that was right in front of our faces." Like
Yeah.
that's
Well,
the
like you
fun
do
stuff.
in like ACOTAR and
Mhm.
in for sure Throne of Glass, but like
Yep.
ACOTAR, there's
Oh.
clearly there's an Easter egg that
Yeah.
you go back and read. Like I've never reread
I haven't yet
ACOTAR.
either.
I need to. I would like
I'm
to.
waiting for sticks. I think I'm going to
I
do
was
them
gonna
all.
say, I think whenever the
Yeah,
next book comes out, I want to reread them.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So
I
it's
need to
fresh.
reread Throne of Glass. I do need to reread that one. I feel like that
I
would
need to
be because
actually
it's.
read.
I'm gonna say it's probably. I need to finish it. She said.
I'm a Bridge Kingdom right now, and I am loving it. So
Yeah.
I gotta
You're
finish.
here for the ride. Yes, you're here for the
There's
ride.
always
I'm
time.
in the
time.
throes of Book of Azrael, so I'm in book 3 now. But this is gonna sound bad. I'm really tempted to DNF.
Oh,
I
really?
Book
don't care
3.
anymore, like what happens, and like so
Oh,
that sounds terrible, but it's like
because you
oh,
were loving it.
it was so good. Like book 1 was really good, and then book 2 started dragging, and now book 3, I'm just like, is it
See,
gonna?
and that goes with what we're talking about, like the art of doing this and laying it out in the right way. Like you got to know when to pull the
I know it's
like and plan it out in a way where you're like, this is not going to drag, but it's also not a total info dump and like going to overwhelm people. Like it's a ride,
things
but
that like showed me is that book book 1 was from one point of view for the most, and it's written in first person through the most of the book. And then it comes in and there's a second point of view, which is also written in first person, but it switches points of view. The second book, it's those 2 points of view, but then we start adding in like 3 and 4. In the last book, we've got like 10 points of view. And like
that's a lot.
it's okay. Like I'm smart. I can keep up with it, but it also
Yeah.
is annoying
Yeah.
because I'm like,
A lot of jumping around.
there's a lot of jumping around. And so I think that's part of it is I'm like, I was never invested in this character from the start. And now it's almost like being thrown on me that I'm supposed to be. It's not done as well as Manon. It's not done that well. Cause I can remember getting to that. I can't tell Cassie, but I remember getting to that point in the book and I was like, who is this person? I don't really care who this is. Get me back to the main plot.
Exactly how I
But
felt.
then it was like, okay. Okay. And it was just like, it just kept going, but it was done so well.
It was done well.
This is not quite that level.
This is not that.
What's crazy
It's not
about
there.
the Bridge Kingdoms, it's dual point of view. But at the very end, she adds in other people's point of view for from earlier, which I was so interested. I was like, I'm not gonna read these, but I read it. I'm like, oh, that actually brings in like a little
That's
bit
fun.
That's cool.
backstory.
If it's done well, it's fun. Yeah.
It's done
Yeah,
well.
was
So
like,
now
that's a really
I'm
good
kind of
idea.
like nervous because my plan was to bring in some other POVs at some point, but I'm gonna have to be just really conscientious of that. Like I don't want to overwhelm, and I also don't want to drag something out that unnecessarily doesn't need to be dragged out. Like I know how this book is gonna end. Like it's pretty plain. Like you can pretty much pick up on it, and it's like, I know how this is gonna end. Just get there already. Like I'm done. I'm invested. You know, they're together. We're good. We're done. I'm there. Anywho, so Erin, now that we've kind of talked about everyone's systems here, from what you have thus far, how would you describe your magic systems and or your hierarchies?
Yeah. So the world is called Atheist, and as of right now, it consists of one continent. I guess that would be the continent's name. I don't really have outside of that what the world is called yet. But so Atheist consists of 4 elemental kingdoms: Terravalis, which is where Arden is from, and then Ignatia, which is like fire, and kind of like what you guys said, culturally, they all are very different. And to bring in the astrology piece, it very much represents astrological stereotypes. Fire is going to be passionate and pleasure seeking and a little bit of heathen vibes. And so it'll be represented in that way too. And then there's Aquara, which is water, and then Ventura, which is air. So they all are monarchies at this point. Terravalis, Aquara, and Ventura all have kings, and then Ignatia has a queen. So kind of like what you guys were saying was book 1 is so centered on the actual turning and that event for this group of 10. But book 2 and then book 3, we just keep getting bigger and the world expands. And book 2 specifically will be very political. You will get the political climate of how because in book 1, it's very clear that they all kind of keep to themselves. Everybody's just trying to have their own little place on the continent and not really try to ruffle any feathers. That changes, but that was the goal. And I kind of tried to there's I think it's Celtic folklore. I pulled inspiration from a story of 2 kings that comes from that. And I kind of wrapped that into the version of it into my world where so currently there's humans and mages, and the mages are only the only ones that go to the turning. Humans don't have any magical powers. And so the legend that I wrapped in that was inspired by that folklore is that originally the continent was ruled by 2 kings that took turns. And so one would rule from summer solstice to winter solstice, and then it would switch. And ultimately what happened was the legend says that that one king decided, I don't want to take turns anymore. And so balance was altered because the way that they took turns, it was everybody, you have your time, we share, everything's in harmony and everything's good. And until one person decided that it wasn't, they didn't like it like that anymore. And so the elements at that point decided to kind of break things up because sharing didn't work. And so that's why everything is so like separate. So that's kind of like the history of it that I try to wrap in. And I do it through like flashbacks, which is kind of fun. And throughout book one, there's more about that's learned. And I have to be really careful because there's so many there's so many
it's
things
so
that I don't
hard.
want to
It's
spoil.
hard to like say.
Yeah. So that there's kind of like an element of a little bit of like mystery, even in book one, where they're going to kind of uncover some stuff about the history of the continent and like get some truth that helps understand the current situation more. So that's kind of like the hierarchy of it. The magic system, I'm still developing. The way that like my brain works is I'm trying to like get the story on paper, and then like my idea of like my first edit is really going to like go in and like hone all those details and like really clean it up nice, because I have it in my head, but then it's like, I've got a couple alpha readers that are friends, and they kindly point out that so far like things, they're like, well, this doesn't quite make sense yet. In my head it does because I know where we're going, but I do need to like, that's part of it, is like you have to make sure like you give the pieces at the right time. So the cost of the magic is similar to what some of you have, and like burnout is part of it, because the whole theme that I'm really trying to go with is like balance. And like some of you like want to represent some themes in our own world, that is one that I am passionate to represent.
Yeah.
Is just what happens when we get hungry for more and the problems that happen with that. And so it transpires into a lot of different ways in the story, and that really comes to a head in book 2 also. So the cost is burnout. I'm playing with the idea that like generationally, when you abuse your power or you want too much of it, it gets slowly stripped from you and passed down your line. I like the symbolism of that. Like I
Yeah,
like
I like that
when
too.
Yeah, that's
when you
really
think of family members who maybe don't have certain things figured out, like in a sense that makes us more powerful, like in our own lives, and we learn from that. And I kind of want to represent that in the magic system of like kind of the elements, and the source of magic is like kind of its own entity, and it can pull it apart if it wants to. If it's like, whoa, like this isn't what we had in mind, like it can change things. So that's kind of, obviously the magic itself has to do with, the elements and all of that. And so there's different powers. There's the turning is what makes your powers like come to be. It's kind of like what makes them manifest fully. So that's fun to kind of play with, because it's like you get little hints of how it's like starting to show up, but then obviously like when they're in it, it becomes like way bigger deal. And then there's I also have some ideas of like certain rare powers that like would manifest due to an event, kind of like you were talking about, Miranda. So it's kind of fun to like have that in the back of my mind plot wise too, and like which characters might get to play with those. So
Yeah,
world building is
Yeah.
so fun.
it
It
is
is.
fun.
fun. I'm like, I
It
haven't
is.
really played around. I haven't introduced yet my stewards heavy, and I can't wait to do that, because that's
Yeah.
such a huge part of my book, and it's like part of the magic system, and it's
Mhm.
like, that's so cool. Yeah, it's
I
really
love it.
I
I
love it.
really love how we each kind of bring in stuff from our own lives, like into
Mhm.
Yeah.
these books. Like Erin, you're talking about like balance and harmony, and like Miranda, yours is depression, and Cassie's is like the storm inside. And I
Mhm.
love that. I just think that's so cool, and like the way we each do it is so
Yeah. I think that's why like it doesn't get old to like
right.
It
read this
doesn't
genre. It
like
doesn't get old.
never. It never gets old for me.
No.
Like it can be about a shadow wielding fae, and even though I've read 100 books like that, I'm probably going to read it
Yeah,
anyway, because they just are
totally.
still they're
Yeah.
unique.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it.
And I am
I
like
love it.
thinking of themes that I didn't even realize that I like shoved in my story.
Yeah.
Thinking about them now, I'm like, oh, I put that in there, and I don't even.
Yeah, you kind
I
of
just subconsciously
subconsciously
like
will do
do
it.
that. Like it's because it's so cool.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
will subconsciously like turn around and you're like, huh,
You're like, oh wow,
I put that in there. And it's
Yeah. Some of it's obvious and some of it you're like,
yeah,
where'd that
some of
come
it it's like
from?
oh,
Yeah.
huh, okay.
Some of
My
it is
husband will
very
actually like bring
intentional.
some of that up, and I'm like, maybe it's a little weird, but that's fine.
Yeah. I did have my husband because, I told you I don't let him read anything. But I did have him because he was talking about it, and I did have him read the little blurb that I wrote about the king and his disease and mind blight. Because I was like, I know that that's really solid.
Yeah.
You're not going to convince me it's not. So I was fine with him reading that. And he reads it and he just giggles and he's like, well, that's like really intentional. That's like a very specific dig there, babe.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, and I don't care.
Yeah. And then that was the point.
I
And
love
that's
it.
why it's in there.
That's the point, right? Exactly. That's like my husband, whenever I was sharing him book 2, and he's like,
Mhm.
this is like eerie and a little scary. And should I
Yeah.
be concerned? And I'm like, 6 years ago, maybe. Not right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
Because he's like, it's like, oh, this is uber specific. And I'm like, yeah, it is. But it's
Mhm.
purpose. So, we want it that way. I think
I'll
Yeah.
that's
never forget like when my mom was reading that my second chapter, which is about Aklis. It's like her like the first time you meet her, and she's literally
Mhm.
like staring down like to the depths of the bottom of the ground, and
Yeah.
she's, jump. My mom.
Uh-huh. You okay there, Kate?
That was really dark.
I know. Are we okay? Is everyone okay? So say something. Blink twice if you need
Yeah.
help.
Right.
It's like
I'm like, hey, we've all been there, okay?
no, we have. I mean, yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, thanks for everyone for listening to this episode of Uncovering Our Systems. If you haven't already, make sure that you follow each and every one of us on social media so that you can see like what step in the journey, because we're all in different steps. And make sure that you are subscribing on Spotify. And there it is, Spotify, not Shutterfly. Make sure you are subscribing and share with your friends and listen to us yap some more. And we'll be back next time talking about all things of what we're going through as independent authors and all of our book adventures of what we're writing. So
Yay.
stay tuned for more. But
Also,
we
make
will
sure that you
see
pre-order
next
Miranda's
time.
book because it's going to be out.
Yes. Yes, pre-order it.
And
Order,
have
Kate.
on your radar that Kate's book will be coming down the pipes here in December. So keep that on your radar too.
Yeah.
And then next it'll probably be Erin or one of y'all.
No, it's probably Cassie, let's be honest.
We'll get there eventually, guys.
We'll get there
We're
eventually.
gonna do
We'll
it.
get there eventually. It's totally we'll get there when everything is tucked and buffed, because that's just who all of us women are. So but
Love
stay on the lookout for all of that, and we will chat soon.